Hey everybody, welcome back to Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I'm your host Caleb.
Hello, and I'm Seth. He allows me on this show sometimes.
Sometimes you're the co-host.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we are back with this week talking about Tales of the Jedi.
Yep.
But before we do that, we do actually have news this week. Even with us being pre-recorded, there's actually news to talk about. So we'll start off with the bigger piece, and that is a new movie that has been announced, and it is to be so it has its director as Charmin Obey Shinoy. That's my I hope I did not butcher that. That's my best guess. You're not even gonna bother, are you?
I could try. Charmin obeyed Shinoy.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, like that's my best guess. She
We're
direct
sorry if we get that
Yeah, we're sorry
wrong.
if we got it wrong.
We don't know how your name is pronounced.
She directed some of the Miss Marvel episodes, and she will be directing the Star Wars movie, and it will be co-written by Damon Lindelof, who is known for the HBO Watchmen show, as well as a few other major projects that he's been a part of. I mean, he's been part of Bad Robot Productions, so J.J. Abrams' production company. So he helped with some uncredited script work for the Star Trek movies. He also worked on the Prometheus and World War Z scripts. Um, so you know, he fan. He's definitely the type of guy you want, right? Um, so that was our first piece of news. So a
Yeah.
lot of news got reported at once, and it was like spaced out when we got all this news. So that was the first piece of news we got. The next piece of news that we got involving this film is more of a rumor that Dave Filoni might be in the writers' room as a secret writer working on it with them. The other thing that we did know for sure is that it is post uh, sequel.
Yep.
So we know it's post episode 9.
It's a thing I've been
Yeah,
because I'm
which I
like,
mean we've got them in Lego form. We got the and
yeah,
in the comics we've gotten a little bit of post episode 9, but nothing major.
yeah.
No major show or movie that's after episode 9. So this would be that. And then the last piece of news that we got is potentially a release date already, and that it will be taking the December 2025 slot,
Mm.
and that we are, and that the Taika Waititi film, we're not sure what's going on with that at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, because that was supposed to be the 2025 slot, I believe, or 2024, I believe. Yeah, Taika's was supposed to be the December 19th, 2025 slot, but he's taking a little bit longer to kind of come get his film going. Whereas this film is a little bit more ready to kind of go, just about, you know. Because if you've already got your writers team, your director, we're in a good spot, I would think. Um, and more than likely, when we're hearing this, it's already been like written. Like they've already been working on this for a while, probably. Usually, we don't hear about these things until afterwards. Um, so the reason that we know that this isn't just a rumor is that it was brought to us by the Hollywood Reporter initially. So, and they're usually pretty spot on.
Mm.
Thoughts?
Let's wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, this would be another film on the list that we've just been waiting to see what happens because we've gotten a lot of film announcements with no actual traction, which
Yeah.
I'm fine. We're getting a lot of good stuff anyways. Like, it's fine. Take your time with the movies. Figure out what you want to do with that because you're giving us a lot of good shows in the meantime, and I'm not going to complain. We're still getting content. If there was a lack of content entirely, then there would be some complaining. But I think with the fact that we are still getting plenty of content, I I see no reason to complain personally. Um, we'll kind of keep on the movie and TV side real quick, and then we'll
Yep.
jump to the other thing. Jon Favreau has hinted that characters from the Skeleton Crew show might appear in Mandalorian season 4, which we haven't even gotten season 3 yet. So interesting, but that makes sense. It's part of the Filoni Favreau-verse, because with the Mando-verse, if you will, because it's that post Episode 6 era that's like only a few years after, and so I mean that's kind of what Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, all that has kind of been. It's been that post and that Mando verse, if you will.
It's the cleanup, essentially.
Yeah. Um.
Or an attempt at it.
So we'll see. This was an interview that he had, so he mentioned it, and he talked about other projects as well, like uh, Mando season 2 being similar to like Yojimbo and with Ahsoka, and then there was the few other things here and there that he talks about with the fact that Ahsoka's filming, and that Skeleton Crew is sharing this area with Ahsoka because they're both kind of using the same like areas to get stuff done, and probably overlapping in crew probably too. But this was brought to us by Entertainment Weekly. Lastly, video game news. Lego Star Wars Galactic Edition. It's a new character collection. They are including new character packs. We're getting stuff from the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, the Andor show, the Book of Boba Fett show, Clone Wars, Rebels, and Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation. You and I watched the trailer for it. I'm going to probably get the characters. It looks like a good time. Looks like we might jump back. No, because there's no new levels. That's my one complaint. Like, I want levels to go with these character packs. Like, I love the character packs, yes. Keep giving us the character packs, but give us levels as well. Get us out. I know it's called the Skywalker Saga for Lego Star Wars, but get us outside the Skywalker Saga. Give us an Obi-Wan Kenobi level. Give us an Andor level.
And make an entirely new game for those characters.
We do have a list because in the trailer we didn't really get the list. We just saw all the characters. So here's the list of new characters that we're getting. We're getting for Obi-Wan Kenobi, we're getting Ben Kenobi, Reva, Grand Inquisitor, Fifth Brother, and Darth Vader. For Andor, we're getting Cassian, we're getting Bix, we're getting Deidre, we're getting Luthen, and we're getting Cyril. Book of Boba Fett, we're getting Cad Bane, we're getting the Armorer, we're getting Peli Motto, Black Chrysanthemum, which I saw you perk up when we watched the trailer. You're like, yeah, my boy. And Cobb Vanth, which got me excited. Clone Wars, we got Captain Rex, Ventress, which is awesome, Savage Press, Darth Maul, Gar Saxon. Rebels, we're getting Sabine, Hera, Kanan, specifically Blinded Kanan, because he had the mask, Ezra, and Thrawn. And then Summer Vacation, we're getting Emperor Palpatine, Darth Vader, R2-D2, Finn, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. So that I think that's a good roundabout addition to the collection. What about you?
I think so. Obi-Wan, I'm dead and on vacation. Leave me alone.
But yeah. So that is the news for this week.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and get into today's topic.
So
Tales of the Jedi.
Yep.
So how do we want to talk about this? This from here on, it is spoilers.
Yeah.
As usual.
Warning.
As usual, we talk full spoilers. So if I say go ahead and watch it. It's really it takes you probably a little over an hour, barely.
Yeah, like maybe 2 hours tops.
If that, because it was 20. Like they were less than 20 minutes each. Some of them felt like 5 minutes, like the way they went by. But, do we want to go this in chronological order or release order? I'm thinking release, just to kind of.
Let's go with that.
Okay. So the first episode. This is the episode that everybody who went to Celebration that was in the Tales of the Jedi panel got to watch, and it was the Baby Ahsoka episode. Baby Ahsoka. So we start off the episode with Papa Ahsoka happy that Baby Ahsoka is born, yelling across the Togrutan village, "Hey, my baby born! Come see my baby!"
Yep.
And so we get Baby Ahsoka born, which we have the village leader show up and basically be like, "All right, you're part of
the."
the."
What are you naming this one?
Ahsoka. And boom, and So they jump a year ahead,
Yeah.
where Mama Ahsoka
Yeah.
is gonna go on a hunt
Yeah.
because apparently it's tradition that about a year after they go on a hunt with the baby.
Mm-hmm.
So, which Papa Ahsoka kind of teases.
He's like, do we really need to do that?
And she's like, yeah, if you don't want to upset the ancestors. And he's like, all right.
All right, I guess.
Meanwhile, the elder of the village marks both
Yeah.
Mama Ahsoka and Baby Ahsoka, basically going, all right, your battle, you got your face paint, you're ready to go.
Go.
So they go out, and I'm gonna look up her actual name.
Mama Ahsoka is. It's not her name, but it's what we've called her 3 times.
Life and Death. That was the name of the episode. I swear, if even okay, it's that's right. It was Pavti.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they do say it. They
I
do
didn't want to
say it.
say it and get it wrong.
Because they do say it in the show, or at least it's in the subtitles.
Yeah.
So Pavti is the mother, and she and Ahsoka go out into this wooded area where they find
some weird.
I know what the animal's name is, but it just slipped my brain. Give me a second. Kaibuck. So they find some Kaibucks.
Like a weird mix of deer and kangaroo.
And so she shoots one of the Kaibucks, and basically this is valuable life lesson to Ahsoka of, hey, death is a part of life naturally, but we still respect, the order of things, and we still show respect to the thing we just killed, and we're gonna use all of it. It's very much we're using all of it, we're not just hunting for the sake of hunting, sort of deal. And so, as it slowly dies in front of them, Pavti grabs her knife and finishes it off.
Yep.
And then places down Ahsoka so that way she can tie it up and get ready to bring it back.
Yeah, and she's like joking with Ahsoka, like, "Oh, would you like to carry it?
Would you like to carry the Kaibuck while I carry you? Is that how this is gonna go?" And while she's joking, she does not realize that a Sabretooth is sneaking up behind her. Ahsoka, however, does notice, and it's just like, oh, the big kitty.
Mom, you're gonna get wrecked.
And so Sabretooth comes in. Pavti notices just in time to shoot it a couple times, but I think she scrapes the side of it on one of her shots because we see that it's got a cut from the shot. I think that's what that's supposed to be, is a burn mark.
Yep.
And this is when the village elder,
she's like, wait a minute.
Gantika,
That's
she notices that that's too many times to be shooting.
That's like 4 more shots than were needed.
Yeah, and so Gantika, along with the rest of the village, start like preparing to go see, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
And so they all come in just in time to save Pavti, but not Ahsoka.
Yeah.
The Sabretooth picks up Ahsoka and runs off with her.
Yep. It's like this one.
This will be my snack to go. I'm taking it to go.
Yeah, I'm coming back.
And so then Ahsoka kind of bonds with the Sabretooth using the Force. And it's like a boop to the snoot using the Force. Force projected boop. Look, a boop to the snoot is the biggest weakness of every animal.
Yep.
Look, if not friend, why friendly boops? And so while the village is like panicking over whether or not Ahsoka is dead, Ahsoka comes riding back in on top of the Sabretooth. Yeah. No problem whatsoever. And then the Sabretooth just leaves calmly after dropping Ahsoka off.
What was the joke I made? You're lucky this is your town, kid.
Yeah. And so that's when Gantika's like, oh, Ahsoka's got the Force. Ahsoka's a Jedi.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the episode.
That's the end of that episode.
All right. So now let's jump ahead. So we are going to get away from Ahsoka for a bit because the next 3 episodes are Dooku focused.
Yeah.
And so we're actually jumping back in time now
Mhm.
because this happens in 36 to 35 BBY. We are now going somewhere between 68 and 42, where we jump to Dooku and Qui-Gon going on a mission.
Yep.
So they have been sent to investigate the kidnapping of a senator's son
Yep.
on the planet of Dagonet. No, wait, Dagonet's the senator. What's the name of the planet? Um, we don't get the planet's name. Okay, so
But it
yeah, when they get there,
it looks awful.
the entire village that they find is like
It's awful.
it looks like it's
run
been like it
down.
looks like it's been on fire and they just put out the fire,
Yeah.
but like there's no signs of a fire that just happened. Like it's just like
It's also like foggy and muddy,
yeah,
and
and the stray dog barks at them and
it's not a stray.
I
that's
know
someone's-
it's someone's dog, but still.
And like they get there and they do the thing of everyone just shuts their windows and locks their doors.
Yeah. And so eventually Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan or Dooku Qui-Gon and Dooku, sorry.
Obi-Wan's not here right now.
Obi-Wan's
what are you talking about?
Obi-Wan's probably still a child.
Yeah.
Dooku and Qui-Gon, they go into the essentially the cantina, the local cantina, where they're like, "Hey, so we're looking for the senator's son. Anybody hear about that?" And this lady steps up from behind a table and she's like, why are you asking?" And they're like, "Because we're here to investigate that. We're Jedi." And they're like, "All right, well, I'll show you where they are." And Qui-Gon's like, "Wait, you're the kidnapper?"
And everyone
and stands up.
and they're like,
Dooku's like, "Oh, they're all the kidnappers. Like, this entire village did it."
yeah. Like after he's like put his lightsaber on the table, like, no, I'm not here to like.
We're here to
fuck
figure out
you
what's
up.
going on.
I'm here to get some answers.
So she takes Dooku and Qui-Gon to this barn where they've got Dagonet's son tied up. Dagonet is on the side of the villagers,
Yeah,
or his son is. Dagonet's son is like, "Yeah, no, I understand why these guys kidnapped me.
Why they did this, and I'm not really that mad."
Like, they needed to get their voices heard, and this was the only way to get their voices heard. Makes sense to me." And so
he's like, "Oh, I didn't know."
Like, because he's like,
they were being neglected this badly. I spend most of my time in the capital or on Coruscant.
Yeah.
And I'm like rarely allowed to leave.
Yep. And so he's on their side, and so that's when Dagonet shows up with army essentially,
Yeah.
and the villagers are like, "Okay, what are we gonna do?" And Dooku and Qui-Gon are like, "All right, we'll talk to him. Let us talk to him. We'll try to settle this because we're Jedi. That's our job." Because at first I think that Dooku and Qui-Gon led Dagonet there, but they're like, "No, he didn't even know we were. He didn't know that Jedi were even getting involved."
He didn't like send us here. We just heard about this and decided.
We were told by the council to check this out.
Yeah.
So Dooku comes out, tries to speak to reason with Dagonet.
Diplomacy failed.
Yeah, Dagonet's like, "Look, they got my son. Give me my son, or else I'm about to fuck shit up." And Dooku's like, "Look, they've got actual complaints that are reasonable. You should probably hear them out." And he's like, "No, I'm gonna burn them instead." And so then a shootout happens.
And it's going real bad for the villagers.
Yeah, like, this is a case of
this
is how this would happen realistically,
they
because
don't hit any of their shots and half of them get wounded
or die. Qui-Gon and Dooku are trying their best because they've got their lightsabers and they're defending as many shots as they can, but there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And so eventually Dooku just has enough.
He's like, "Fuck it."
He starts force choking Dagonet, and he's like, "This is what happens to corrupt politicians."
Like, he's straight up about to kill that man.
And so Qui-Gon thinking
like,
very
"Oh, shit."
Qui-Gon thinking very much on his feet, goes back into the barn, frees Dagonet's son, and is like, "All right, you need to go save your dad.
Save your dad's life.
Because
mine's not gonna stop."
And so they quickly manage to get Dooku off of him. But Dagonet is definitely, like, taken aback. Dagonet's like, "I should probably rethink some things."
Maybe I should reconsider my stances.
And on top of that, basically Dagonet's son's like, "Yep, okay, we're leaving, and I'm gonna make sure my dad changes some policies here."
Yeah.
And so, and then that's basically the end. Dooku's like, "Hey, good job on thinking on your feet, Qui-Gon. You did what was right. I
Yeah.
messed up.
I was going a little too far.
You found the best solution that got the least amount of people killed. Because if you didn't do that, more people probably would have died."
Yep.
So that's the end of that. Now we jump ahead a few years in Dooku's life.
Hmm.
And we get episode with him and Mace.
Yeah. And this is a great
So,
fucking.
so they go to Raxus on this one,
Mhm.
and they're simply there to pick up the body of the of a dead Jedi Council
Yeah,
member named Katri.
That's what they're
literally
supposed to do.
That's literally their entire job.
Yep.
Mace is like, "All right, we're here to pick up the body, bring it back to the council, so that way we can give it a proper funeral." And Dooku's like, "Nah, I'm
Dooku's
studying what happened.
Dooku's like reading the case file, and he's like, "This doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah." He's like,
How did the senator get away if the Jedi died?
"Yeah, what is going on?"
This Wouldn't they kill the senator too?
And so, when asking where the body is from the Senator Lark, Dooku decides, "I'm gonna play a little bit of investigation," and he's like, "So would you like to show us where you guys got attacked?" And the senator's like, "I'm not so sure about that." And then his guard steps up and is like, "Oh yeah, no, that's fine. We can show you." And so Mace, who's like this entire time, is just like, "We don't need to investigate. Why are we investigating? They just keep investigating."
Yeah.
And so they,
Mace is like, "We're just here to pick up their dead body."
"We didn't need to do this.
Yeah.
We're not getting paid overtime for this."
Yeah.
And Dooku's like, "No, we're gonna figure this out because we're gonna get justice
Mm-hmm.
because something doesn't add up." And so they go out into this like open field where there's just where they park the ship and then a bunch of trees are in front of them,
Yeah.
and they're looking at the scorch marks from the battle, and they're like, eventually they turn around and they're like, "So how'd you guys get attacked? Like, how'd this
They
happen?"
say-
And they're like, "Oh, they came from behind us," and like, and they're like, "Well, that doesn't."
What they say is, oh, they came from the trees, and they look up at the branches, and those branches are too thin for them to have been up there.
Yeah, and they're like,
And they're like-
and also the blaster shots look like they obviously had to come from behind you.
Yeah.
But how could somebody come from behind you? Because Katri would have sensed that,
Uh,
unless it was somebody that was friendly to you. And at this point, Dooku's got his lightsaber out.
It's like,
He's like, "Give me answers now." And Mace is like, "No, this is not how we're gonna get this." And that's when the Senator Lark is like, "My guards did it," and he starts running towards Dooku, only for the guards to shoot Lark in the back,
Shoot him anyway.
and Lark dies.
And
And that's when they all start shooting at Dooku and Mace, and then a bunch of droids that are, I guess, part of the Senator's like posse still. Like they come out because they are also working with the guards, and the officers just start. Yeah, things don't go well for the officers.
yeah, no.
So Dooku and Mace win.
There's a point where one of them has like clearly been defeated on the ground, and he continues to like try anyway. And I'm like, I think my exact word. This was probably very funny to you because I'm saying Dooku's lines before they happen, and my exact word was "don't" for that one before this man got himself killed.
Yeah, and so they end up arresting the leaders of this re- re- resistance
No,
rebellion.
no.
What would you
A
coup?
coup? Yeah, a coup would be the right
But,
word.
but what do you call members of a coup?
Conspirators.
Conspirators. I guess that works. So yeah, they arrest these conspirators, and Dooku's like, "Hey." So they like when they're arresting them, they're like, "So why'd you do this?"
Dooku actually is the one to go and question them. Mace doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, because Mace is once again, he's like, "We're just here to pick up a body,"
Yeah.
And so Dooku's like, so why'd you do this? And they're like, well, our Senator Lark was kind of a piece of shit. He was letting all these corporations come in and fuck up our planet, and we were gonna, you know, basically they weren't gonna really get rid of him. They were just gonna be like forcing him to change his policies the next time he went to like the
Yeah.
big Senate meetings.
Yeah, their plan was to.
Kind of kidnap him and then force him to do what they want.
Yeah.
And so so Master, the reason they had to kill Master Khatri is she just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
She was there to help the senator, and they were just like, oh well, we wanted to kidnap him here. I guess we're gonna kill you because we can't have a witness. Because Dooku's like, so why'd you kill Master Khatri?
And they go, we didn't want to. They just had to be there, and they would have stopped us.
And then that's when Mace finally interferes, and he's like, no, she was a Jedi. She probably would have listened to you if you went through the right channels.
And this was my like, oh, so you guys didn't even try.
Yeah, they didn't go. And he's like, no, they're a bunch of Jedi. Jedi are just lapdogs to the senators. They don't care about the normal people. Which during this time, I can see their point.
Yeah.
And Dooku does as well.
Dooku's like, I don't agree with what you did, but I understand it.
He's basically, he says, I agree with your.
I agree with your message, not with your.
Yeah, I forget the
methods.
exact words he uses, but yeah, it's basically something along those lines. And so, they then bring him into custody.
Yeah.
And Mace and Dooku come back with Khatri's body, where it's revealed that Mace will be taking Khatri's seat.
Yeah.
On the council.
Like, Dooku doesn't seem really disappointed that
Yeah,
he's not on the council.
because this
or
was also
anything.
apparently a test to see if Dooku would take a seat
Yeah.
on the council, which he has before. So this would be more of his second time on the council. It would be like a second term, essentially.
Yeah. So Mace ended up getting it because he's just like.
Because he followed by the book.
Yeah.
Because it was like, we were there for one job, just to get Master Khatri's body. While yes, you did the right thing, there was a way of going about it, and you didn't do that. And so therefore, I get the seat and you don't.
Dooku deals with corruption twice. Both times, like 9 people have died.
And so
most of which aren't really his fault.
yeah. And so they go ahead and bring him back. So they do the funeral. Stupid Kiati's the one in charge of it, of all people. And then yeah, that's that episode. Because Dooku kind of calls Mace out on it. He's like, look, that had to be done. And he's like, well, yeah, but you have to go about it the right way.
Yep.
All right, so now we jump ahead to the events of Phantom Menace.
Yep. This is happening right at the end of Phantom Menace.
It starts mid Phantom Menace and ends at near the end. I'm gonna call it right now. This is my favorite episode of the 6.
It is a very good one.
Do you have a favorite episode have we already discussed your favorite episode, or
yeah.
Which one?
Fuck it, I'm killing this guy right now.
Oh, the first of the Dooku episodes. Yeah. Justice. That's the name of that episode. And then the last one we just talked about was Choices. This one is called The Sith Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dooku is back on Coruscant because while not a Jedi anymore, they do grant him
visitation
he gets
rights.
Visitation rights. He's allowed to come onto the Jedi Temple floors and basically do whatever he wants for the most part, as long as he doesn't go into restricted areas, which he is in this episode.
Yeah, the first thing we do is see him going and setting up for episode 2.
Yeah, which brings up so let's talk about what he does, and then we'll talk about the implications of this episode. So he's on the temple floor, which once again allowed to do.
Yep.
Padawan, basically, because we talked about Padawan on the show. They tell us, yeah, he's not a Jedi anymore. He's a senator, but he's still allowed to hang out with us because he's still extended family.
Yeah.
And so he goes into the Jedi archives, where he goes into the restricted section using his buddy Sifo Dyas's entry code, who was a Jedi. I think he was a council member at some point, Sifo Dyas. And so that's why he's able to get into the restricted area, because
Yeah.
only council members can get into restricted areas. And so he uses Cypher Diaz's codes to get in there, and he does what we see in episode 2. He deletes the files of Kamino, which we know that Dooku did that. Now we've seen it. And now we know when. He did it as far back as episode 1, which is 10 years before the Clone Wars, before Attack of the Clones. Which implies that they've already got the cloning and everything set up. Like, it's starting now.
Yeah.
Like, they've already gone to Kamino. They've already done the I'm Sifo Dyas raising an army for the Republic under the guise of I'm a Jedi, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm Dooku.
In case of emergency, open army.
Yeah. And so, like, this...
For you...
For me, this implies that at least 5 years. Like, this is not a last minute, oh, we're deleting this. You don't delete your evidence first. You save the deletion of evidence for last, because you got to wait till you know what evidence to delete.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in this case, why would he delete Kamino unless they've already gone and dealt with the Kamino stuff? And we know that the cloning process takes a minute.
Yeah.
They double the ages of... So it takes half the time for a clone to reach maturity than a normal person, because they double their aging process.
Okay, so 9 years.
So until they'd be 18, yeah.
Yeah.
But they're all like, when we see them on when we see them in Attack of the Clones, they're the same age as Jango, most of the adult ones anyways. Yeah. So that would put them at about 44. So 11 years. So maybe last year he started doing it then.
Yeah.
But that's still...
Because remember, at the time Obi-Wan goes and investigates that, they already have 100,000 ready.
Yeah. So
the
maybe...
only way that would have been possible if he started it up before...
Even Phantom Menace, because the math says that you'd have to. Now, how far back you want to believe that Dooku has been working with Palpatine, that's where the math can be whatever you really think. It's opinion-based at that point. I personally think it's probably closer to the 11, probably 15 years prior to Attack of the Clones. So about 5 years before this. But 1 year works as well, but I would think it would be more than a year, because I think he would have to do a lot of wheeling and dealing before going to Kamino and getting that right. And so, yeah. So, anyways, back to the main story.
Yeah.
So Dooku erases the Kamino files, comes out, and everybody's all in a hoopla about something going on.
And he's like,
he asked Jocasta Nu, the librarian, "Hey, what's up?"
Your apprentice believes he has encountered a Sith Lord on Tatooine.
And he's reported this to the Jedi High Council, and it's kind of caused a lot of rabble about it.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Really? And what does the council think?" They're not sure what to make of it. A lot of them don't believe it.
Your student always had a wild imagination.
Much like you. And
he's like, a talent valued less and less in these halls.
Fair, once again, fair opinion. Fair opinion to hold. And so he manages to catch up to Qui-Gon in the halls as Qui-Gon is hanging out with Yaddle.
Yeah.
And once again, we continue the Dooku has never seen Obi-Wan.
Yeah. Like, they've seen each other, but they've never talked.
And they never, but they also don't know, Dooku doesn't know what Obi-Wan looks like still.
Yeah.
Because, he mentions in this episode, after talking to Qui-Gon, because, once again, he gets Qui-Gon's side of it. And Qui-Gon's like, yep, some Sith Lord with a double blade he fought like a Force user, so I mean, the maths.
Mm-hmm.
If
he's like, red lightsaber, black clothes, Force abilities, probably a Sith Lord.
If not, a very deadly Dark Jedi.
Yeah.
And so...
Dooku's like, yo, you should be careful about that.
Yeah. And with Yaddle there, comments about how the Jedi Council should listen more. And Yaddle's like, look, I think it might be true, but that doesn't speak for the whole council.
Yeah.
And so, like, just because I think it's true, we still have to. We're just saying let's be cautious about the whole thing because we don't want to jump to any conclusions that might not be true. Which is this is like one of those things of I get Dooku's side, but I also get the council
Yeah.
side. Like the council is very much saying, "Hey, let's be cautious. It could be a Sith, but it could just be nothing.
Yeah.
And if it is a Sith, we want to investigate so that way we can figure out the mysteries of how the Sith would be around. We don't want to, we need evidence."
Yeah.
And so, um, this ends up, we jump
We
later
jump forward like a few
to
days.
a few days. We jump to the end of Phantom Menace, essentially,
Yeah.
where Dooku is at the tree at the Jedi Temple. That it's the only tree the Jedi Temple has. So like, I don't think I have to say. We've seen it in Clone Wars. We've seen it here. We know the tree, and it's Dooku. Basically, would you like to explain it the way you explained it? Go ahead.
So Yaddle comes up to Dooku and is like, "Hey, we're going to Qui-Gon's funeral in a little bit. Are you gonna come with us?" And he goes, "No, no. He's passed on to the Force now. I don't really see the point." And what this
Need to learn to let go.
Yeah.
What is that to you? What were you gonna say to you?
And I was thinking about this. I'm like, this is like if a grandpa, if a parent found out like their son died and was like hanging out at their favorite like park when they were little. And he's like,
this was the swing he liked to be on. This was his favorite bench to feed the birds.
Yeah.
But yeah, because Qui-Gon was born on Coruscant.
Yeah.
So
he'd never seen a tree up until he'd been to the temple.
Yeah, because plant life is not exactly normal on Coruscant.
No, it's not.
You don't get a lot of fauna.
Yeah.
Or flora.
Yeah.
So.
And so she's like, all right, then.
All right, well, we're all going to start going now, so.
Yeah.
See you later, I guess. And Dooku's like, yep, off to my ship. And he goes off to secret meeting location, corporate, what we call that?
Industrial
the industrial district of Coruscant,
the betrayal district.
Which you related that as being the same as the garden in Game of Thrones.
Yeah. The plotting. This is where we go to plot evil schemes.
And so, obviously, it's where he's going to meet Master Sidious.
Yeah. And so they go and they meet up.
Yaddle secretly told him.
Yeah.
Also, Dooku should have known he was being followed.
I believe my counter argument was they don't have rear view mirrors in Star Wars.
And my counter to that is they've got computers that tell them when ships are behind them.
But yeah. So the first thing, so Dooku gets out of his ship while Palpatine is there.
And he's like, "Hey, motherfucker.
What the fuck, man? That wasn't part of the deal.
Your boy killed my boy."
Yeah. And it's like
Sidious doesn't feel bad at all. He's just like, he was at the wrong place.
Like, wrong place, wrong time, buddy.
Casualties happen.
Yeah.
And so he's like, Dooku's like, I'm having second thoughts about this. And as he's saying that he's got second thoughts, that's when Yaddle shows up and is like, all right, time to close shop.
Yep.
Dooku, come with me. Turn yourself in. Let's work together. We can pardon most of what you've done.
Yep.
We'll deal with this guy together.
Yep.
And Dooku's just like, wait, did you hear all of that? And Yaddle's like, yep.
And my thought was, what was the line I said? I said, fuck, I have to kill you now.
Yeah, that's it. And so Dooku's like, all right, well then I gotta kill you now.
Yep.
So Palpatine is like, oh, you've led me to a trap, eh? Because he's trying to fuck with Dooku.
No.
And Dooku's like, no, I didn't lead her here. And he's like, well, prove it, kill her. And he's like, okay.
And I was like, man, this is just a fucking awful day for Dooku.
So Dooku and Yaddle go at it.
Yep.
Awesome sword fight.
Yep. Once again, Dooku apparently loves getting
fights with Yoda species in
dark,
dark area,
enclosed spaces.
closed spaces with ships nearby, ready to go.
Yeah.
So Yaddle ends up hiding for a bit during the
Yeah.
fight, and is trying to convince Dooku, "Hey, you still got time to turn back."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Don't you want to get the guy who fucked up Qui-Gon essentially?"
Yeah.
And that's the where Dooku's like, "Okay, look, you shouldn't have said that."
I was like, that was the wrong thing to say right now.
So Dooku finds her, and they start fighting
Yep.
again, and she ends up in the middle part of like the hangar door.
Yeah.
So there's like the two spikes that rail it, and then the actual like centerpiece for where the door slides into. And Dooku manages to push her into the centerpiece and then quickly close it. And both of us on the initial viewings thought, "Holy shit, is this how they kill Yaddle?" Like, holy shit.
Yeah. I'm like, fuck, man, that's brutal.
But then it turns out, no, Yaddle had enough, like just enough,
just barely enough time
to
While
catch
the
it.
door, in my opinion, is what kills her, what happens next certainly doesn't help.
So yeah, so she manages to lift the door just enough to get out of under it, but instead of, oh, I don't know, running away, she's drained at this point, so she rolls forward into Dooku and Palpatine's laps, essentially.
Like, this was a mean thing to say, but I'm like, what, you couldn't fall backwards?
This was the part in most movies where you get the great escape of, yay, I did this awesome thing, now to escape like a badass.
Yeah, not today, though.
Well,
because of
things that
happens in the future.
We know that episode 2 has to happen.
Yeah.
So obviously Palpatine can't get busted.
Yeah.
And we also know that Yaddle does not appear in episode 2.
Yep. A long time ago, I think on the show, I made the joke of, like, when Dooku leaves, he's like, wonder where Yaddle's at. Better go fuck her up.
Yeah, I need to figure out what episode that was on, because that has to be a clip.
It's either on that or it's not. I don't know where it is.
Yeah, I don't know what episode it would be on.
Yeah.
But,
I didn't know how right I was gonna be about that one.
But yeah, so Dooku steps up and just cuts her down.
Yeah.
And that's when, basically after Yaddle got trapped, though, before he cuts her down, Palpatine, this is when Sidious kind of is like, "You are now officially my apprentice."
Yeah.
And so yeah, so, because technically Rule 2 has to...
Yeah.
Mm,
Palpatine
Dooku,
tries to follow the
like,
rule of two.
Palpatine...
He's not very good at it.
Well, I would say Palpatine follows the Rule 2 in the letter of the law, but not in the practice of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's following something to the letter versus the actual practice.
Yeah.
And he follows it to the letter. He only has
Not
one
the
apprentice, but not in the spirit or the practice, because he always has either assassins or other allies like Dooku. Because I would argue Dooku wasn't an assassin for him.
No.
He was probably just a friendly ally who happened to know his secret, just like Masamita knows his secret during this time, and so does Sly Moore during this time. They know who Palpatine is. They know what he is. They know he's a Sith. They just aren't his apprentices. Because also none of them are... Masamita and Sly Moore aren't Force sensitive.
Yeah.
So that was the Sith Lord. Alright. Last 2 episodes, and we are back on the Ahsoka train.
Yep.
We are now in the Clone Wars era.
Mm-hmm.
And this episode is called Practice Makes Perfect. Takes place in 21 to 19 BBY. And it is... Anakin shows up to the dojo on the Jedi Temple to watch Ahsoka train against remote droids, where Tara Sinube is supervising along with Obi-Wan, and Depa Billaba and her apprentice Caleb Doom, a.k.a. Kanan Jarrus, are watching as well. And Ahsoka takes down these remote droids easily. And the remote droids are new. They're a new version of the remote droids that are essentially supposed to be as close to like the battle droids AI as possible.
Yeah.
That way, you get almost real-world training. And Ahsoka takes them down like nothing. And This I loved watching little Caleb Doom. So like I as a fellow Caleb, I love Caleb Doom, and little Caleb Doom getting so excited and going like, "I want to be like her." Like you could see that,
Yeah,
and like it was great. Meanwhile, Anakin's like, "Yeah, that was nothing."
that was easy.
Yeah, because
That was too easy.
because Anakin looks disappointed, and Ahsoka's like, "Why are you disappointed?" He's like, "Let me drag you outside so I don't have to say it
Yeah.
in front of everybody." And he literally looks around to make sure nobody else is looking. And he's like, "That test is dumb. That test is dumb." And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'll give you a real test." And she's like, "All right, let's go."
And
And
Obi-Wan and Yoda are looking at them like,
we set this up perfectly.
yeah.
So Anakin brings her to this warehouse where all the clones are there, and you immediately guess what's gonna happen. But you've also seen the trailer, and it's like, oh, they're just all gonna shoot at her at once.
Rex, I need you to shoot my apprentice.
Thankfully, they turn the safety on,
Yeah, they're not just.
which I love that the safety is still. So in the Star Wars universe, there is no, oh, I turned the safety on,
There's
so
no, like-
nothing's gonna come out. No,
Yeah.
you still get stunned.
Yeah,
Like even the safety blast is holy fuck.
yeah.
And so, they turn all their safeties on, and Anakin's like, "All right, you're gonna go up against them, and the longer you do, the better you are because." Like, while sure, you might be able to take out battle droids, but you never know what else will come across. So, I'm preparing you for, like, anything.
Yeah.
And so, Ahsoka gets taken out by Jesse after, like, not even a minute.
No, it's like 7 seconds.
She holds her own for a little bit, and then Jesse goes.
Yep.
And then, she's out for an hour.
Yep.
Apparently, that's how long it takes a normal person to get up from being stunned.
She gets.
She gets better, because we get a montage of the training
Yeah.
where, because Ahsoka's like, "This is so difficult. Why are you having me do this?" And he's like, "Well, that's the point.
That's the point. It's not supposed to be easy.
I'm training you for life and death situations." Call back to the name of the first episode, which is a lot of people said that they kind of messed up by separating the first Ahsoka episode from the rest, because it kind of, like with Count Dooku's, you get that full journey. You get
Yeah.
the beginning to end. Oh, this all makes sense. Like it feels like a cohesive narrative when you watch Dooku's parts arc as a whole. But it kind of separating Ahsoka's arc kind of takes away from that. I feel like it would feel more whole if you watched the entire arc together. And that's apparently what a lot of people I've talked to about it have said. A lot of people have said, yeah, rewatch it with just doing life and death. Practice makes perfect. And then resolve.
Yeah.
And it would make more sense. Because this does set up well from where that episode ends off. And so we get the montage of throughout the Clone Wars, Ahsoka is just continuing that way of learning, and she's getting better and better because Rex points out, "Hey, you've been lasting like
she goes from like 7 seconds to 5 minutes."
Yeah. And so eventually we jump to season 7 events of Clone Wars, which is also during the events of Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And so Order 66 has happened. And Rex, who has already gotten the chip taken out of him, he's like, "All right, you ready for this? I hope all that training paid off."
Yep.
And then they cut away. Because we know what happens, because if you've seen season 7, you know what happens. And so basically this implies that Anakin trained her for the survival of Order 66 without knowing it.
Yeah. While I do, like, my thinking of it is, you are a Jedi. For lack of a better term, a lightsaber isn't typically a ranged weapon. And also, battle droids tend to outnumber Republic forces.
Yeah.
So that is why I'm like, well, no wonder she fucking lived past Order 66. That's all she's been doing.
Yeah. So that worked out. I thought that
Mhm.
was a good one. Um, I think honestly that's one of the stronger episodes of
Yeah,
Ahsoka's arc.
it is.
Um, all right, Resolve, the final episode. So we start with the funeral of Padme, where
Yep.
Ahsoka has snuck in essentially to watch because it's her friend.
Yeah.
Bel Organa notices her. So does Mon Mothma. I think Mon Mothma also noticed her, but Bell specifically recognized her and was like, he waits till they're out, away from the crowds in secret, and he's like, "Hey, you shouldn't be risking yourself like this." She's like, "Well, I had to for my friend," and he's like, "Look, I get it." And he tries to essentially enlist her into the rebellion,
Yeah. And she's like, nah.
and so he gives her a comm anyways. And just as they're about to split, uh, some clone troopers come up, and Ahsoka quickly hides. And the guards are like, "Hey, you shouldn't be in this area. It's restricted." And Bell's like, "Oh, my bad." And like he's doing double speak, so that way
Yeah.
he's still giving a message to Ahsoka of like, "Hey, if you need my help, call,
Just give me a call.
because you'll always have friends through me." And so guards lead him away, and Ahsoka takes the comm link in case. Um, Years later, because we jump from,
Yeah.
well, a year later, probably. Well, so it's probably about a year later, but it could be even further, depending on when. We don't know specifically when
Yeah.
this takes place.
We'll go with a year or two.
Yeah. Um, she's living life on a planet called, I think, somewhere around here, because I was looking it up earlier.
Mm.
She's living life on the planet of Monhala,
Yep.
where she's working with this farm village, and she's kind of made friends with the villagers there. And there's this brother and sister who are like joke fighting and all that,
Mm-hmm.
and she's known as Ashla by them. And the
They're like, hey, you're stacking the
the
hay
bell,
bales
yeah,
too high.
yeah, you're doing it wrong. You're gonna.
You need to stop.
And the brother's like, "No, I'm good," and he stacks it anyways, and then he goes to get lunch because it's lunch break, and that's when the repulsor lift crashes because it's carrying too much weight,
Mm.
and the hay bales start to collapse onto the sister, but manages to avoid dying because Ahsoka uses her force ability to save her. At
I
the
was like,
at,
okay.
at lunch, the brother is arguing with this older man, who I think is the father, but like they don't say.
Might be, might not be.
Um, but they're arguing about life under the Empire, because the old man's like, "Look, you don't know how it was before the Emperor. You think that it's all fine and dandy under the Emperor, but that's only for people that do exactly what the Emperor wants. And not everybody, lives as good of a life as you think."
Mm.
And the brother's like, "Nah, it's only the rebels that he goes after. People that obey the law obviously are safe." And so, but the brother, because he's pro Empire and he noticed Ahsoka using the Force, uh, decides that he's going to call the Empire and let them know, "Hey, there might be a Jedi here."
Yeah.
Uh, Ahsoka and the sister leave to go sell the harvest to a nearby village, to another village nearby, and they come back to see that the town is on fire
Yep.
because the Inquisitor that came to look for Ahsoka didn't find Ahsoka and
Yep.
is punishing the village
Where
because
is the Jedi?
the brother lied to, at least in the Inquisitor's eye.
Yeah.
And the brother's like, "No, no, 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 she'll be back. Trust me." And then she does come back, and he's like, "Well, you were right. She is back. Here's your reward." And he's about to cut the brother's head off, and Ahsoka comes in and is like, "Nope, Force."
Yep.
And they get into a very quick fight.
Mm-hmm.
Ahsoka doesn't pull out a lightsaber, but the Inquisitor does recognize her as Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And Ahsoka uses the Force to basically stop the lightsaber, catch it, and cuts the Inquisitor down.
Yep.
I think it's an epic moment.
It is. I'm just confused a little bit because of what happens immediately after that.
Well, Ahsoka calls
No, not that. It's the
Oh,
fact
the
that the
head deflating?
Inquisitor's head deflates.
Nobody knows. That is a thing on Twitter. Like, it's been a thing on Twitter, too. So you're not the only one who noticed it.
I'm not mad at it. I'm confused by it.
So you're not the only one who noticed it. Like, there's other people that are like, hey, what's with the head deflating? We've gotten no answer yet.
But that Inquisitor actually did look like just fucking evil.
Oh, yeah. Great design.
Yeah.
Kind of a waste of how quick they went out.
Yeah.
But also kind of badass because, like, it's a mixed... Like, I'm having mixed emotions on it. But yeah, so Ahsoka then calls Bill and is like, hey, so you know that favor?
Yeah.
I need you to get these three people away somewhere and basically give them a new life. And that's when Bell kind of once again is like, hey, so you're back in the fight? And Ahsoka's like, yeah, I'm here to help.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yep.
So, thoughts?
I enjoyed it.
We need more. We need more
Yeah,
episodes.
I actually do. Agree with that.
Like, because I kind of like the 3 episodes per character. I'd say don't separate the arcs ever again.
Yeah.
What Jedi? So, what Jedi would you like to see next of this type of story?
Sorry.
I kind of want them to explore out. So, unfortunately, it's Dave Filoni, so he's probably going to stick with Clone Wars era for a bit. But I would like them to explore outside of it. There's a couple things I want. You took the Tales of the Jedi name, Dave. Use some Tales of the Jedi comic characters, Dave. It wouldn't be that hard, Dave. There's a ton of them to use, Dave.
Okay, calm down.
Look, he needs to know. He needs to know that he can take the name, it's fine, but at least use some of the characters.
It's quite alright. It's quite alright.
Outside of that, if you're not going to do that, do some High Republic characters.
Yeah.
I would like maybe an Elzar from this perspective.
Yeah. Elzar would be a good choice.
I could watch a 3-episode Elzar arc. They could probably because some of this, it's like some of these episodes are kind of like a visual version of some events of novels, so they could do that. They could just, we could watch Elzar like struggle, and it'd be great.
Yeah.
It will make us emotional because we'll have to see Elzar commit so many war crimes.
They're not war crimes, though.
Yeah, you're right, because there's no war. They're just
There's
crimes.
That.
They're just
don't
crimes.
Don't get me wrong.
You're right. They're not war crimes. They're just crimes.
They're just crimes. Like,
you have to be at war for it to be war crimes.
Yeah, and those don't exist for like a while in Star Wars.
Yeah, we don't get it's the Yavin conventions.
Yeah.
Anyways, but what is your actual answer?
I think I would like to see. I think I'd like to see some. I was gonna say Ty Yorick, but
Ty Yorick would be interesting.
Yeah. But that might just be because I have a soft spot for that one.
Yeah.
If not her, I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of Plo Koon.
Plo Koon. Oh, you're just Dave would make that in a heartbeat because that's his favorite Jedi.
Well, I can see why.
So, there you go, Dave. Make a Plo Koon one. We know you want to.
Remember, in order to kill Plo Koon, they essentially blew up his car.
Look, Dave. We know you want to make a Plo Koon one, so just do it. We know you want to, so just do it. But yeah, so I give this show a 9.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8.
I can see an 8. 8.
Yeah.
Like if I don't give it a 9, I'd give it 8.5, somewhere in the middle.
Well, is the consensus between us 8.5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that's our happy medium ground.
Yep.
Because like it's almost perfect.
Almost.
But there's like a few minor things here or there. and it's less to do with the product itself
You
and
get a
just the
B plus.
yeah, you get B, maybe even an A minus,
Yeah,
depending how you want to look at it.
depending on the day.
Yeah. So that's it
You
for
get a passing
yeah.
grade.
Either way,
Considering the lowest I think I've ever gone is a 4 on this show.
yeah, which is damn low. I forget what you gave a 4 to,
I don't remember.
but that's it for this episode.
Yeah. Thank
Let me
you for tuning in.
yeah.
Goodbye.
Well, hold on.
It's not goodbye.
it's not
We
good.
still have
We
to
still have
go and talk about a few other things.
yeah. Let me. So it is the last. This is the last episode of October.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about what we've got coming up in November.
All right, what we got?
So we're going to talk about the Visions one shot next week, starting off,
Oh.
because there's a Visions one shot that came out, and it's a prequel to the Visions episode, to the duel. So it's it's Ronin stuff, more Ronin stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to a prequel of that rather than a continuation of it, like with the novel. I've already read it, so it's gonna be easy to. Then the week after that, on the 12th, we've got our first set of short stories from Phase 2. Tales of Enlightenment: New Prospects. I've read the first half. I haven't read the second half yet. On the 19th, we'll talk about the High Republic Quest of the Jedi, which will be our next book. That's the first of the junior novels for Phase 2. And then, which I think we've already. So if you've been keeping up with the comics, which I know you haven't yet, because usually we read them as you read them when in a group. I read them as they come out.
Yeah.
I think for the comic readers, we've already met the main character for Quest of the Jedi, and they have a very interesting last name. If you have been keeping up with my TikTok, which is Caleb Blockwood5, you will have watched my episode regarding the mother, and you'll have noticed that. Because Alicia has a last name, and there's a Jedi that shares that last name. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And then after that, we get our first main novel. On the 26th, we'll talk about Convergence. And then that's it for November. So far, no guests for November. That could change if somebody decides last minute they want to join us, because we're always open. If you don't have my contacts, you can reach us at escaperealityfilms@gmail.com, and that's you can email us there and be like, "Hey, I'm a content creator," and so that's a way to reach out, and we'll look at what you do and see if you're a fit for the show. Generally, we're pretty open though. As long as you're not toxic, we'll give you some air to join us.
Yep.
Because all Star Wars fans are Star Wars fans. And so yeah, next week Visions, one shot. Thank you all for watching. If since we are pre-recorded, you are probably watching on YouTube.
Yep.
And so go ahead and give us a like on this video, and feel free to subscribe and comment down below. If you want to check us out on Twitch, we are on Twitch at twitch.tv/CJ Star Wars 94, where when we are live, we dual stream on YouTube and Twitch. We also I also play some video games on Twitch every now and then. I've been lately doing some Clone Wars Adventures emulator because I got into the closed alpha for that early access, and it's been a lot of fun. If you've ever played the old Clone Wars Adventures MMO back in the day, it's an emulation team that's reviving that MMO, and so they brought back a lot of the mini games, and so they're doing some Halloween event stuff there right now. So they've decorated the Jedi Temple with some spooky stuff, and they've given you some Halloween costumes that we can spend our credits on to get, and so that's what I've been doing. I've been earning credits and then spending it on funky costumes. Also, my character can do the Beyonce all the single ladies dance. Anything else I'm missing of our stuff? Oh, check us out on Patreon. That's patreon.com/escaperealityfilms, where we have a bunch of stuff. I'm working on a comic right now with my friend Colton Holcomb, and we are posting early concept art whenever he manages to get some to me. And so that's been interesting. I think the first page is almost done. Um, it's looking pretty sharp. I'd say probably before the end of the year we're getting the first page. Um, which that's about right for how long it takes. It takes a minute to do this kind of art, especially when he's the only artist working on it. We're not like having a team of artists, but the money that you guys give us on Patreon goes towards stuff like that. It also, you also, if you take the second tier, you get access to YouTube content a week before it's uploaded to YouTube. So anything that's like pre-recorded, not like this, but like actual,
Yeah.
like let's plays that we do on the channel. So like me playing, let's see, for example, when we're recording, a Lego Star Wars video came out I think today.
Hmm.
So there's stuff like that. Um, and then I'm also playing Bounty Hunter, some Demon Souls. So if you want to see me get my butt whooped, there's that. Although I think I'm holding my own. I think I'm holding my own in Demon Souls.
Have you learned to just be ruthlessly pragmatic when fighting enemies?
Well, I've made it past the first demon boss so
Okay.
far. So I've although he's also the easiest
Yeah.
because it's phalanx is pretty easy. You just get around him and fight the parts of him that are peeling off, and you wait till there's not nobody guarding him, and then you just beat him up, and
Yep.
you use a lot of fire because he burns real easily. Um, but yeah, you get access to stuff like that. And we would like to give a shout out to our Patreon sponsor, Jennifer Brantley, Seth's mom. Thank you for once again being an amazing sponsor and friend to the channel. We also want to thank some other friends of the channel. We want to thank the Mopcast Network, who provide this studio for us. They do the Cult Movie Cantina as well as My Star Wars Life. You can find them on youtube.com/Mopcast Network as well as any podcasting app. There on Cult Movie Cantina, we talk about old movies. I'm a producer and co-host on their shows, so um, I think I don't know if we're coming back before the end of October, but we're definitely coming back for November, and we're doing our Movember films because we like to support men's cancer awareness and stuff like that. And so Movember, we do specific movies that are manly movies that connect to the Movember, and so that's coming back for sure. And then we've got My Star Wars Life, which we've been taking a little bit of hiatus from. We're behind on our Andor recaps, but we're coming back and we're doing them. Don't worry. And you can find us there. Um, also, like to thank Gamers and Geeks, which is our local gaming shop here in Mobile, Alabama. They are the ones that rent out the studio to Mopcast Network, who then give it to us. So we get the hand me down of the hand me down. But we love them as well. They have all your tabletop and card gaming needs, as well as an arcade in the back, where if you pay $10, you get a daily little pass to play the games, and they're all free play machines. So you just go to whatever game you want, and
Yep.
bada bing, bada boom, you can play like a lot of good games. They got the original Mortal Kombat trilogy.
Yep.
They got Tekken. They got
Tekken 1.
yeah, they got Tekken 1. They got Marvel vs. Capcom back there.
Mm-hmm.
Capcom versus Snack.
SNK.
SNK. Yeah, I call it Snack. It's my thing. Okay, I know it's SNK, but I like to say Snack. And then they've got Crazy Taxi. I think has been back there. Galaga. Pinball. You name it. Honestly, they got a good collection. And so yeah, all of that and more. If you're ever in the Mobile, Alabama area, come check us out.
Yep.
And you might actually run into us depending on what day you're there.
Depends on the day.
Yeah. But yeah, once again, thank you all for watching. We'll see you guys. Oh,
You almost forgot Engage Gaming.
Yeah, we got Engage Gaming too. We love
Let's-
Engage Gaming. You're right. Let's show some love. Engage Gaming is in the same building as Gamers and Geeks.
Yeah.
They do rentals essentially for consoles. So you come in and you can pay like a hourly fee to play on the PlayStation, Xbox, or PC, or even a VR machine. If you can also pay a monthly membership fee, which will decrease how much the hourly rate for your rental of it is, and you just in the shop they have all the setup for you. They got the TV, the consoles. They even got the games. If there's a certain game you're looking for, you can probably find it from them. All right, for real though, that's
Now we
everybody.
can
That's everybody. Um,
thank you all for watching.
yeah, we'll see you guys next week with Visions One Shot. Uh, Hopefully live again.
Hopefully.
I think we'll be live again finally. But thank you all for watching. I have spoken.
Later.